Welcome back to Have Your Say. I'm still here with Kenneth Schultz in our studio discussing the Islamic threat on the Western world. Ken, can you tell us what Islam brings into the Western world?
Yes, it brings in a number of things which are not very satisfactory, really. Well, first thing that comes to mind is female genital mutilation, FGM. Now, that's part of the Muslim tradition, to mutilate the young girls. And I don't have any figures for Australia, but in Britain,
Yes.
there's been thousands of FGM carried out in Britain, even though it's illegal.
It's illegal also in Australia.
Yeah.
And also illegal to travel from Australia or England to carry out. And it's still happening.
Yeah, I don't know the figures here, but I do know the figures in Britain.
Yes.
It runs into thousands, and its average is about 100 a week. And even though there's 100 a week and it's illegal, there's never been one prosecution that I'm aware of. So that is one of the things that Islam is bringing into the West.
But is this genital mutilation, where is this coming from? Is it in the Quran, or is said by or demanded by Sharia law?
Probably Sharia law. I don't know that it's in the Quran, but it's certainly in Sharia law, and it's been a tradition of Muslims for centuries.
So what is the aim of that brutal act?
I have an idea. It's just to suppress females and make them more subservient to their husbands and their masters, really, so that they supposedly do not want to engage in sex so much and just follow what the master says. Well, they're bringing in terrorism. We're well aware of that. We've already spoken about terrorism. They bring in criminality. There's so many criminals in our jails that are Muslims, way beyond their percentage in the population. Again, I don't have the Australian numbers, but in America there's something like 140,000 Muslims in American jails, which is about 9% of the population, but Muslims represent less than 1% of the American population. In other words, they're overrepresented in jail by a factor of 10 or 11. So that's another one, another thing that they bring to the West. Another one they bring to the West is rorting our welfare systems. There's so many Muslims on welfare. There was a government figure put out a while ago that refugees from Afghanistan, after they've been here for 5 years, 90-odd% of them were still unemployed after 5 years. One of the most notorious fighters, if you like, was Maruf, or whatever his name was. He was getting a disability pension while he was fighting in Syria.
That's clever.
And then when the government looked into it, they found out that over 90% of the Muslims that left here to fight in Syria were on welfare before they left. And maybe a lot of them stayed on for a while after they left.
There's so many reasons can be to being on welfare. So what does it do, how the Muslim religion all comes into this?
Well, it comes
apart from, okay, they are got a percentage, but most of the migrants to this country also coming from Muslim countries. So it's no wonder if they got the high number of welfare support.
Yeah, but after 5 years and 90-odd% of them are still unemployed, that's not a good figure. But it's partly in their mentality. You see,
how?
Muslims believe in the jihad. The jihad is a payment from non-Muslims to Muslims to live in their society. If they capture a country, they've given the people 3 choices. You convert, you pay the jizya, or you're killed. Which one do you want? And the jizya is a payment. Well, the Muslims regard our welfare, and they've said so, that this is a form of jizya. We're taking that welfare money because that's a jizya.
we're allowed to do that, and it's belong to us.
Yeah, it's there. They would consider it belongs to them, and some of their leading spokesmen have made public statements to that effect. They are bringing in mistreatment of women. We've read
Which
plenty.
way?
Well, their own women are often mistreated, but probably the most noticeable is the sexual assaults on women, particularly in Europe. Since the large number of refugees have come in, sexual assaults have skyrocketed. Until today, Sweden is known as the rape capital of the world. That's another thing that they bring into the Western world.
But also they're saying the Muslim culture is so rich, and they enriching the Western culture with their own culture because they being very rich with science and other cultural things. What is the effect of culture in Western society?
Well, I think we've spoken about that to a fair degree. There's no longer, there was a period of time when they did sort of support the idea of art, literature, mathematics. They went through a period, and there was one particular caliph, but he goes back to the year 700 or 800 or so, when he and art, literature and maths flourished under them. But when he died, so did the support of those things, and there's never been much ever since. So no, they're not doing anything to add to our culture, in my opinion.
So how the Muslim countries, the big and the small ones, are working together to take over the West? Any sign of that, you know?
Oh, well, there's numerous signs of it. Part of their taking over the West, as I said, is the al-Hijra, bringing people into the country to migrate. And when you get here, spread your influence. And one of the ways they spread influence is build mosques. And thousands of mosques have been built around the world in the last couple of decades. And a lot of that money is coming from Saudi Arabia. They're taking the money that we give them to fill our cars, and they're recycling it and building mosques, and those mosques are now helping Islam penetrate into the societies. The mosques are more than just a place of religion. That's
a place of worship.
Well, yes, but it's more than that. It is saying we are here and we're dominant.
So do you know some numbers of how many mosques in Europe or Germany or in England been built? And
there's thousands of them. Saudi Arabians have built thousands of them. I have an idea that Turkey alone, it's in the book, I think they've built something like 800 mosques in Germany.
In Germany.
And then they've insisted that the mosques are now run by their own people out of Turkey. They come into Germany, run the mosques on behalf of the Turkish government.
Because they build it.
They build it.
And they're sending the...
We're sending our own representatives in there to run it along our lines, and never mind what Germans think. This is for us. We're here.
And they are there. That's
they are, right.
Unquestionable.
Yeah.
The Germans got their big dose of Muslims.
Yes.
They used to have some dose of Jews. Now they got more Muslims than Jews they got ever. And that's, in one way, it's helped the country because they needed the cheap workforce, and they got it from Turkey.
Yeah.
But now it's turning into something completely different.
It started out years and years ago when Germany needed workers, and they were happy to let the Turks come in on the understanding that when the work is done, they'll go home. But they never went home. They stayed.
They're going home every summer for the holiday.
Yes.
I know, because when I was living back in my country in Hungary, it was a huge migration of millions of Turks from Germany via Hungary back to Turkey for their summer holiday. So I know they are migrating and they are traveling and they're going back to Turkey. They're not staying there, however, because
they like Germany too much. Yeah.
So before we finish this show on the Muslim thread in the Western world, anything else you can mention they're bringing to the Western world?
Yes, what they're bringing in is halal certification. This is where you certify
The food.
food that is suitable for Muslims to eat. Now,
So what's wrong with halal food? Because we got kosher food, which is the Jewish food. We got healthy food, which is our food, we think. And we got halal food. So what's wrong to have
difference
halal food?
between halal and others. Halal certification certifies it's suitable for Muslims.
Yes.
But they've levied a tax on halal. So every manufacturer of food has to pay the halal tax or they'll get boycotted or whatever. So built into our food is a tax. And all the major food producers, whether it's Cadbury's or Kellogg's or all the major people, are paying a fee.
For certification.
For certification, and it's certified by just people who are making a lot of money out of it. In Australia, we've got about 6 or 8 different certifiers. Now, there's 2 problems with that. One is you're paying more for your food, but 2, the money that they take in, the profit, under Sharia law again, every Muslim that's got a bit of money has to make an annual donation to an Islamic charity.
Yes.
So the money that you've paid for your Cadbury's, it finds its way into the charity. And now, under Sharia law, all money going into charities is to be divided up into 8 equal portions. 1 portion is for the poor and the needy, fair enough. But 1 portion is supporting those who fight for Allah. In other words, jihadists. So 1/8 of the money that you pay for your Cadbury's is going, or the profit thereon, is going into supporting jihad. That's why I will never eat Cadbury's again. And the people that stood up to them are the lint people. As far as I know, they still won't pay halal. So I like chocolate, but I'm not going to have Cadbury's, I'll eat lint.
That's a good note to close our program today, to eating lint, because that's a good chocolate. I like it myself. And if it's not certified halal, I think I still can eat it. Thank you for being here today. And I think the next episode with you going to be your solution for the threat of the Western society. Please, next week, same time, same channel, yourself.